Let's get to it, shall we?
Yeah,
the agenda is dominated by one story above all else. It's the storm that is yet to hit, but the ripples that it's already causing, and the steady realisation that in southeast Queensland there was more to worry about than footy.
Been around the game for a long time. Have you ever been in a position quite like this?
No, it feels like we're back in COVID and there's all this uncertainty around.
I think I've mentioned COVID 5 times, but it's just so clear the comparison between that situation and this one.
Absolutely. It'll be the health and safety of our players and our fans will be the number one priority in any decision that we make.
They can't outrun the storm.
The health and well-being of players is paramount, as is the supporters and fans. So, we're really confident that the people in charge in the AFL and the local government will make the correct decisions for the safety of everyone.
It's a bit similar to the COVID environment where our responsibility is to be agreeable and help where we possibly can and have a little bit of empathy for those who are about to encounter some a difficult few days.
We're giving them information, and like all Queenslanders, we want them to make the call. And we're giving them the most up-to-date information, and I'm mindful that there are moving parts. We've got 2 AFL games and an NRL game. They're important events for everybody. We give the information and we're asking them to make the call and communicate that directly with their fans.
I'm a people first person, and in these sorts of circumstances, it's not a tropical thunderstorm, it's a cyclone. And I've never been in one, so I don't know what to expect. But I've seen the carnage that they've caused at different periods in Australian history. So, I'm not too keen on the idea of things going ahead if it's going to be like that.
It's a bit unpalatable talking about when you prefer to play a game of footy when people are sandbagging their houses.
It is quite the backdrop to the season launch, and that's where we find the AFL's Chief Executive, Andrew Dillon. Andrew, with so much going on, we really appreciate your time on 360. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Jared, and welcome, Gary, as well.
Ultimately, when did you realise that the Queensland Games simply couldn't go ahead?
Look, Jared, it was accumulation of time and information that we received, but ultimately, I think, as we had the conversations with senior levels of Queensland government this morning, it became clearer and clearer to us that there wasn't really an alternative. And then when the Premier went out and spoke to the public this afternoon, it became clear to us, and we'd been in contact with all of our clubs, the players, and also our broadcasters. And I think the decision was not taken out of our hands, and it wasn't an easy one, but it absolutely was the right one.
Did you think the government was going to assume ultimate responsibility themselves?
Well, I think ultimately, they do have that power, but in our conversations with them, it just became clear for us, with the mindfulness of the community, our players and our staff, and all of our fans, that with the forecast and now the closeness of the prediction as to what's going to happen, that we just really didn't have any alternative other than to look at a different way to schedule the games.
Did you feel some of the public urgency to have an answer? I think not only from those clubs that are participating, but perhaps from those that aren't and maybe jealously covet the spot. I'm not sure they were as supportive as they might otherwise have been.
Yeah. Oh, look, you always feel the pressure when you've got to make big decisions, but what we wanted to do was do it in a methodical way and wait until we had the most information that we had. And what we were really trying to do is, what we do is rely on experts when we're in situations like this. And we had great dialogue with various levels of the Queensland government and also the Bureau of Meteorology. And as I said, they provided the information which made the decision in the end ultimately an easy one for us.
And the players and clubs, the level of consultation with them throughout the course of probably yesterday and today?
Yeah, multiple conversations at the CEO level. I spoke to a player or two, conversations with the AFL Players Association as well. And also, and that was, Laura Kane and her team did a power of work as well at all levels at the club.
In the contingencies, did you ponder bringing the Queensland teams to Melbourne to play these games?
Look, it was one thing, but I think it was, being totally frank, it was quickly discounted. I think to be moving players and staff out of southeast Queensland, leaving family behind and leaving houses behind, it wasn't really an option. So it was raised, but was sort of pretty quickly dismissed as well.
And were you mindful of not having too much of the football community move into a danger zone in Queensland and making sure you called it essentially before people got in cars and on planes?
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. And that was, whilst we, yesterday when there was probably a little less certainty around the information we were getting, I talked about taking as long as we could. But once it became clearer, we wanted to be, we didn't want to be putting our players, our fans and our staff and our club staff into an area where they didn't need to be going.
To take a little bit of the gloss off opening round deals, I mean, the idea, of course, with great intention, is to promote footy into the northern states, and as it turns out, outside of your control, of course, only Sydney are going to get to experience this.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, yes, I think it's far from ideal, but I mean, ultimately, it's a couple of games that we're going to be able to reschedule. We're going to have 2 great games in Sydney, and then we'll have round 1 and the momentum will be on. But I think at times like this, we're really thinking about the people of South East Queensland and Northern New South Wales who are facing into a really tough couple of days. And, I think we'd all have friends and family up there. And I think what we're doing at the AFL is really thinking of them. We've got a number of staff all through Queensland and we're thinking of them.
Got your fingers crossed that the Gabba holds together. She's an old bird, the Gabba.
Yeah, it's still a great ground and a great atmosphere when they're up and going. And look, I can't wait for the first game for the Lions when they do unfurl the flag, which I think now looks like it could be round 2 against the West Coast. But look, it's as I said, it's not ideal, but things got taken out of our hands. And what we do is we deal with what we do know. And we've got a massive game here on Friday night with the Swans facing off against the Hawks in a sellout, and then a really big game on Sunday at NG Stadium with the Giants playing Collingwood.
We're confident we're not going to get rain there at the SCG Friday night, Dills?
Oh, we can handle a little bit of rain, Gary. It's I think it's the winds and the rain together that causes a bit of grief, as well as king tides and other sorts of surges. So, look, we're really looking forward to the games here. And as I said earlier, we're going to have a couple of massive games at the MCG, probably 3 big games or 4 big games at the MCG next weekend. So we're really looking forward to it. And, it's a great time of the year when you're thinking footy-wise. Everyone's 0-0 and raring to go.
Are you going to have to shuffle the decks to get that Gold Coast Essendon game in? Is the Brisbane Geelong game looks to have a neat solution, but not so the other game?
Yeah, that's a good call, Jared, and that's where our fixturing team are working through all the different combinations and trying to impact as few clubs as possible and trying to do come up with a scenario that affects the least number of clubs. We don't want to have adverse days breaks if we can avoid that. So that's the work that's going on this afternoon, and we're doing that in consultation with the affected clubs at the moment.
Hey, Andrew, when the season launch came out, I thought, I wonder why it's not in Brisbane, given that's where the first game is and where the Premier... It's just as well you chose Sydney.
Sometimes we make the right call. I won't take any credit for it, but sort of hats off to the events team that made that call.
Good on you, Andrew.
And it looks incredible here at Luna Park tonight as well.
Good on you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy
Thanks for having me on.